Hello, Aquarius. Welcome to your December Tarot Horoscope. I'm Jenny Fitterer, and I have a single card for you for the month of December. The first two-thirds of December is Sagittarius season, and then towards the end of the month, we'll have the December solstice, and that will initiate Capricorn season. So the card that I have for you today, Aquarius, is the Fool. So this is the way the card looks. We have this man here, and he's kind of his hands in prayer. He's got a kind of halo figure to him. He's riding this kind of donkey here. It kind of looks a bit pilgrimy. He's got all these butterflies in front of them. And then we have this figure of a drawn kind of humanoid shape with a kind of staff across his way. And that is what the Fool looks like. Let's see what the Fool has to say. Here we go, Aquarius. The Fool. The zero as role model. Zero, or the missing number, stands for nothing. It warns you against living a meaningless life. Seen from another angle, the 0 point defines your personal starting point, the site of unity within yourself at the very core of your being. Like the initial point of a coordinate system, this card represents the beginning of everything that makes up an individual. To look into the future with courage implies charting your own course, not least when all role models have failed you and you are forced to act into the blue without any prior support. The more unusual your path, the more panic you will experience if you have to go down it. Pan in Greek means all. Therefore, panic means all at once. The more room you give the Fool in your life, the easier it will be to get used to accepting yourself, God, and the world as they are, as the supplicant saint in the picture demonstrates. In this way, everything you know takes on a special importance in your life when the time is right. Look at the shadowy figure by the wayside. It could represent your second self that you desperately need and long for. Do not take lightly the feeling that you are missing out on something. The fulfillment of these desires and the banishment of deep-seated fears are a priority. The Fool represents a state of unadulterated bliss. Practical advice. As a Fool, you are open to experiment and free to learn from all experience. You are entitled to lack answers and to change your point of view at will. Put your faith in your own originality and trust the world. Do not let others drive you crazy. It is foolish to concern yourself with things or events that cannot be appropriately judged at the present time. Okay, Aquarius. So a couple different things are kind of coming up for me for this card. One of them is Sagittarius season. Sagittarius is very much seen as the wise guru, the teacher, the philosopher, the one who's really focused on higher learning and philosophy and exploring the known world and the universe. So there's usually like a lot of wisdom there. And then the Fool comes in. You know, we see the Fool as this kind of, totally naive, new to the world, brand new kind of babe that's can feel, well, foolish. And doesn't really know anything yet. And so that dichotomy there is kind of the paradox of the Fool and the wise man, which is, of course, that a truly foolish man is the man who thinks he knows everything. And true wisdom is when you get to the state of learning and knowledge enough to be able to see just peek behind the curtain of how much there truly is to know, and then you're truly faced with how little you do know, and that you're then actually in an even more teachable state. The humility of the wise man is to know, actually, I can't really claim to know anything. But I can keep learning and pursuing that. So that paradox there of, are you the Fool who just kind of stands up and kind of is like, I know everything and I'm going to tell you the truth the way I see it, which is the whole truth all the time, which can be that kind of dark side of Sagittarius, can be super dogmatic and just sort of like, kind of high on their own intelligence. And then, or are you that Fool who becomes actually like that truly wise guru who said, I can maybe share with you what I've learned, but you'll have to kind of realize that I'm not the be all end all, that we're always going to be students of the world. And that I am the greatest student because I not the greatest student, but I'm a forever student because I don't ever claim to know anything truly and finally. So it's kind of, you kind of can examine for yourself where you fall on that, or how you like to ride that Sagittarius energy, because this season is going to be expanding both capacities for both sides of that kind of Fool wisdom dichotomy. So one thing to remember, Aquarius, is that our rational mind and how we cogitate and find our answers through logic is certainly one way that we can work with our intelligence and learn about the world, but it's not the be all end all. And we may live in a culture that very much hyper fixates on the reductionist method and focuses on the trail of logic, which is a useful tool for a particular end, but it isn't to that's kind of that hubris of the reductionist paradigm that claims to be able to discover all the secrets of the universe, which really is then that archetype of the fool who is inflated with self-importance by saying, I've found the key to figuring it all out. So if you kind of hold to, a lot of you Aquarius have a very strong rational mind, and the ability to kind of to look up and above and kind of be the detached observer. Actually, the archetype of one of the archetypes of Aquarius is the scientist, that really excellent observer who's able to see the world and look at it rationally and calculating without being so enmeshed in it. So on the one hand, you can use that tool very, very well, but just be cautious not to fall into that trap of thinking that that is the only way to know things. There's actually much that we can only know through experience, through being in and observing, through the experience of being not detached and emotional. So you may find, a little bit of, I'm not even going to say tension, like, I'm saying bad on you, Aquarius, for using your rational superpower. You should be more like this. There's no kind of judgment in that regard. It's more just being aware that as in Sagittarius season for the first 2/3 of this month, is that energy on either end will expand. So you can both expand that power that you have to observe and learn and travel through that higher, like getting into greater understanding of whatever your given field is, and that propensity to have that hubris of believing that you've found the truth. Both of those are there. So you get to kind of explore and weave in your life what that looks like. Then we are going to have the December solstice, which for the Northern Hemisphere, that's the winter solstice, the point of the least light, the longest night, the cold, the deep midwinter. And then from here on, the days start to get longer. And if you're in the Southern Hemisphere, it's the reverse. It's the greatest light, biggest, brightest, warmest time. But in that bright light is the seed of the coming winter, and the darkness will start to increase. So what I'm kind of seeing from this card is actually talking at the very beginning is this, the Fool is zero. There's no number here. It's zero arcana. So it's talking about this. The zero is a starting point, a unity, a starting point. It's that kind of that zero nothing wholeness, where nothing is both paradoxically this wholeness, and it's this starting point, this total unity. So I'm kind of feeling like that solstice is that starting point, that unity where everything's kind of come in. Well, if you're in the Southern Hemisphere, it's expanded out, and we're going to start a new cycle of contracting in and coming back into the dark in the winter times. And if you're with me in the Northern Hemisphere, we've already come in. We're now at this total starting point, this unity. It's not going any darker. It's not getting any more inward. And then we have a new start, a new cycle. And the Fool is all about a new cycle, where because it's so new, you don't have to be stressed if you don't know anything yet. You can just be in the raw experience and be happy to change your mind as you need to. So the solstice is sort of feeling like this opportunity for the Fool's journey to start again as a new little seed, as the new cycle. And that's how, if you follow the seasonal pattern of the world, and instead of the, kind of 52 calendar, like the week by week, everything's kind of the same. When you fall into those seasons, the solstices are these natural renewal points of a closing of a chapter and a starting of a new one. So I'm just going to kind of leave that concept with you, however you want to take it, wherever you feel like, feeling this coming back in. And then as we go into Capricorn season, once that kind of starting point begins, and we the solstice has occurred, and we're taking the first few steps on that turn of the wheel again, Capricorn season is going to bring in this this energy of doing something now. If you've been kind of working on these goals, or if there's something that you really want to achieve, then Capricorn season is that injection of a little bit more like structure, a little bit more discipline to kind of focus on things. So if you've kind of been getting at the brainy part or the vision part where you're like, yeah, I see what I want to achieve, or this is kind of how I believe and what my views are, Capricorn season ties it into action to, okay, do you have a goal that you really want to achieve? And then it's going to have a kind of help you make that turn on the wheel with some tangible things to do. So that's what I'm going to leave with you, Aquarius, for this particular month. If you want any more kind of assistance or information on some of the transits that are happening, there's a particular Jupiter is the ruler of Sagittarius and is going direct. So there's a lot more of that expansiveness as Jupiter and Sagittarius. The season is like, look, having this big expansion that's happening. So I would highly recommend that you go check out the Sagittarius season forecast that is up on my YouTube channel. It's a pay what you can. That'll just kind of like help you take that kind of swing energy, turning of the wheel with that Sagittarius expansion. So, and a bunch of other lovely things in that one. So go check it out on the YouTube channel. Otherwise, best of luck this December, Aquarius. We'll be thinking of you. Take care.